Snow drifted across the Montana highway in thick, wind-pushed layers, turning the world into a blur of white and silence. Ethan Ward, a former Navy SEAL who had spent most of his adult life in combat zones, drove carefully through the storm. Christmas night always struck something hollow inside him. Too many memories, too many empty chairs, too many brothers lost. Volunteering with the sheriff's department had been his distraction for the evening, but now that the shift was over, he was headed back to his cabin with no real expectation except solitude. As he approached the old Pine Creek Bridge, his headlights caught the weak flash of hazard lights. A minivan sat crooked on the shoulder, snow piling against its tires. Instinct overtook him before thought. He slowed to a stop, scanned the surroundings, then stepped out into air so cold it burned his lungs. The vehicle's windows were fogged from the inside, and when he tapped lightly on the glass, a startled face appeared, young, tired, and pale with worry. Claire Donovan rolled down the window only a crack, her voice shaking as she asked if everything was all right. Ethan noticed the small heads peeking from the backseat, 3 children, bundled in thin blankets, their eyes wide with anxiety. The toddler whined softly, rubbing his hands together in a futile attempt to warm them. A blast of cold air from inside the minivan told Ethan everything he needed to know. The heater had been dead for a long time. "We've been stuck for hours," Claire admitted, shame threading through her words. She explained that her husband had passed away the year before, and this was their first Christmas without him. They had been driving to her sister's home to avoid spending the holiday alone, but the car gave out in the middle of the storm. She hadn't wanted to call for help, not on Christmas night, not when she already felt like a burden to the world. Ethan listened quietly, assessing the situation the way he once assessed battlefield risks. The temperature was dropping fast. The kids' faces were flushed with cold. One wrong decision could turn this into a tragedy. He lowered his voice, soft but firm. "Ma'am, you can't stay out here," he said, meeting her eyes through the dim light. Then he extended his gloved hand toward her, steady and certain in the way only someone who had walked through danger could be. "Come with me." Ethan guided Claire and her children carefully through the icy wind and into his truck, the warm air blasting from the vents like a lifeline. He helped buckle the toddler into the backseat while the older 2 kids huddled together, their breaths still shaky from cold. Claire watched him with a mix of gratitude and hesitation, unsure whether to trust a stranger on a night already filled with hardship, yet knowing she had no other choice. Once everyone was settled, Ethan radioed the sheriff's office, reporting the stalled vehicle and requesting a tow. His voice stayed calm and professional, but inside, he felt a pull he hadn't expected, a protective instinct stronger than the winter storm around them. The drive to his cabin took only 15 minutes, but for Claire it felt like crossing into another world. The cabin sat tucked beneath tall pines, golden light glowing from the windows. When Ethan opened the door, a wave of warmth rolled out, the smell of burning wood and faint cinnamon wrapping around them like a blanket. The children stepped inside cautiously at first, then quickly gravitated toward the fireplace, stretching their hands toward the flames as if thawing out the fear from their small bodies. Ethan moved with quiet efficiency, removing snow-crusted boots, hanging wet jackets, and setting extra blankets near the hearth. He asked nothing personal, offered no pity, only the kind of steady presence Claire hadn't felt since her husband's passing. She sank into a chair, exhaustion catching up with her all at once. The weight of the past year, grief, bills, loneliness, sleepless nights trying to be both mother and father, pressed heavily on her chest. Ethan noticed, but instead of pushing for conversation, he walked to the kitchen and began preparing something simple. When he returned with plates of warm grilled cheese sandwiches and hot cocoa, the children lit up with a joy that pierced Claire's heart. She blinked back tears, murmuring a shaky, "Thank you." Ethan sat nearby, not intruding but close enough to offer reassurance. He had learned long ago that silence, when offered sincerely, could comfort more than any words. Outside, the storm intensified. When the tow truck driver called to say the roads were too dangerous to bring Claire back to town, Ethan hung up and turned to her gently. "You and the kids stay here tonight," he said. "You're safe here." It wasn't just the fire that warmed her in that moment. It was the realization that kindness could still find her, even on the coldest Christmas night.